Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a really interesting question. Is it worth it to leave the Army for a corporate job? Our insights are coming from, a compelling LinkedIn article. It's by Saravanan Gandhi.
Right, a retired lieutenant colonel from the Indian Army.
Exactly. And he made that exact switch, now a senior manager at Amazon India.
And what makes his piece, I think, particularly valuable is that it's really rooted in his own experience.
Yeah.
Within the Indian context, specifically aimed at veterans from the Indian Armed Forces.
So it's very practical.
Very practical, yeah. A firsthand look at this pretty significant career shift.
Right. And for you, the learner, listening in, maybe you're thinking about a change yourself.
We're just curious, maybe.
We're just curious about how people navigate these, very different professional worlds, moving from somewhere like the military, which is so structured,
to a corporate sector, which could be, a bit more fluid.
Exactly. So, Saravanna's story, I think it's packed with valuable lessons. We're going to dig into his motivations, the actual steps he took.
And the key insights he picked up along the way.
Yeah, I think there could be some real aha moments here, honestly, whatever your own career path looks like.
Our mission really is to get under the surface of his experience.
Find those universal truths about making big career changes.
Okay, so let's start with Saravan's background a bit, give people some context.
Good idea.
He served for 20 years, lieutenant colonel, electronics and mechanical engineers. That's a serious commitment.
2 decades, yeah.
And clearly a lifelong learner, too. Multiple degrees, including an executive MBA from Symbiosis.
Right, and now he's a senior manager at Amazon India, program management, based in Hyderabad.
So managing complex projects, basically.
Yeah, and what really jumped out at me was the speed. Retired March 2017.
And started at Amazon in April 2017.
I mean, that's incredibly fast, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Almost no downtime.
And he's quite upfront about his mindset then. He actually says he was desperate to leave the Army.
Huh. That's quite candid.
It is, but he also says he didn't undersell himself when he moved to corporate.
Right. Knew his worth. That's important.
So that central question, is it worth it? He answers with this huge yes.
A big, resounding, humongous, gargantuan yes, I think was the phrase.
Yes. Especially, he says, if you make that decision about 3 years before hitting the 20-year service mark.
Okay, that 3-year point. Why is that so significant, do you think? He mentioned something about the Sir to Sir G shift around then.
Right, but it seems more strategic than just a change in address.
Yeah, I think that 3-year window, as he points out, it's the ideal time to start actively, conditioning your mindset for a civilian career.
Okay. So it's about proactive preparation.
Exactly, not just waiting until retirement is right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's like building a runway. You need that time to plan your takeoff into a new world.
That makes a lot of sense. A runway. I like that. So he then kind of lays out his roadmap for those 3 years, and the first big step was career counseling.
Right, at VSLVE in Pune. Sounds like that was a key moment, getting some expert advice.
Definitely. What sort of advice do you think someone in his shoes really needs at that point? Are there common mistakes veterans might make without that guidance?
Well, I imagine a big part is just translating skills. Taking that incredible military experience, leadership, logistics, problem solving.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And figuring out how to talk about it in a way that corporate recruiters actually understand.
The language barrier again.
Exactly. And maybe identifying where the skills gaps are, common pitfalls. Probably underselling yourself, using too much military jargon, or just not quite grasping what different corporate roles actually entail day to day.
Okay, so that counseling helped bridge that. And the advice he got was pursue an executive MBA.
From a good place, like Symbiosis, yeah. Given he had that 3-year lead time.
They also mentioned a strategic management certificate from IIMC as another option, right? Or adding certification.
Yeah, alternatives. But why the executive MBA specifically?
Good question. Maybe versus a full-time one?
Well, an executive MBA or MBA is usually for people already working.
Right.
Often with significant experience, like a senior military officer.
Right, fits the profile.
They're often more focused, maybe condensed, building on the experience people already have. Strategy, leadership.
Whereas a full-time MBA might be more for career changers earlier on or foundational stuff?
Perhaps, yeah. And the EBA format probably let him study while still serving, juggling both.
Okay, that makes sense, logistics-wise. And he really committed a 2.5-year contact course at Symbiosis.
And he says, point blank, he thinks his current Amazon job is basically because of that degree.
Plus, he just sort of casually drops in that he topped the MBA.
Yeah, no big deal, right? just aced an MBA while still in the Army.
Seriously impressive. Shows real dedication.
Absolutely. Speaks volumes about his drive, his capabilities. Must have been a huge confidence boost, too.
Definitely. But it wasn't just the MBA, was it? He also went after certifications.
Right. IT asset management, ISO certification, things like that.
And he mentioned this was partly because he wasn't totally sure which path to take initially.
Yeah, he was considering operations, marketing, even like mango farming entrepreneurship or M&A consultancy.
Wow, quite a range.
It paints a picture of someone really exploring, kind of hedging his bets.
Yeah. And for you, the learner, that's maybe a key point.
Yeah.
Explore, gain skills in a few areas if you're not 100% sure on the next step.
Exactly. Getting those certs, like in IT asset management, even if it wasn't the final plan, it made him eligible for roles in that field.
Open more doors?
Definitely. Showed he was proactive about learning new things. Valuable for any career changer.
Okay, so then he brings up the pre-release course, the PRC, which sounds like a standard thing for military folks transitioning out. But he's got a pretty strong opinion on it. Basically says it's not really a substitute for an MBA or proper qualifications, especially for senior officers like him.
Yeah, he's quite direct. Cites data suggesting PRC alone doesn't guarantee a good job post-retirement.
Compared to actively upskilling yourself, yeah. He even calls it maybe the last straw if you left planning too late.
Oof. Strong words. What do you make of that stance? Do you think it might be different for, say, someone leaving earlier in their career?
That's a good point.
His view probably reflects the senior roles he was aiming for. For those, employers want advanced degrees, specific certs. A shorter PRC might not cut it.
But maybe for someone targeting a more entry-level corporate job.
Maybe it's a more helpful starting point then. But his experience definitely highlights that for serious career progression, you probably need more than just the PRC.
Right, important distinction. So this all leads to bridging that skills gap he identified.
And he's blunt here too. Says with just Army experience, your options are pretty much security, maybe some admin roles.
Limited.
Very. For things like HR, logistics, supply chain technical stuff, you need relevant certifications. It's not just nice to have.
He really challenges that idea that generalist Army skills just automatically transfer, doesn't he?
He does. Like managing troops for years is amazing experience, but does it mean you know how to write a training needs analysis for HR?
Or bootstrap a logistics network for an e-commerce startup, as he puts it.
Exactly. Those are specific learned skills. You need the certs to prove you have them.
It's where the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Pretty much. But he does add that even short certifications can make a big difference.
How so?
Just getting you past the initial screening,
Yeah.
Making you eligible for more interviews. It signals you've got that foundational knowledge.
Okay, so it gets your foot in the door.
But then, he acknowledges, the inherent strengths veterans bring do matter. Interviewers value that Fauci's passion, he says.
Fauci meaning soldier, right?
Yes. That passion, the adaptability to different work styles, the leadership, that stuff is highly valued.
So it's a mix. Get the specific skills, but also leverage those core military strengths.
Precisely. Complement the invariable soft skills with the hard, technical, industry-specific knowledge.
Okay, so he's got the qualifications brewing, but then he talks about immersing himself in the culture, which is a whole other ballgame.
Totally different. It wasn't just about paper qualifications.
He mentions attending free business seminars, just soaking it in, even if he didn't get it at first.
Learning the language, understanding the scale of things, like financial figures.
And networking, too. Investor summits, marketing events, putting himself out there.
Yeah, that proactive engagement seems so important. It's like a self-directed cultural immersion.
Learning the unspoken rules, making connections.
And he even changed what he read and watched, shifted to business news.
Following specific journalists like Shireen Bond, business leaders, economists online.
Yeah, and he tells that funny story about his wife noticing.
Saying he seemed more evolved.
Huh. But it shows how those smaller shifts in what you consume can really change your perspective, your understanding.
Definitely. A good tip for you, the learner. If you're thinking of a shift, start consuming the media of that new field.
Absolutely. It's holistic, not just formal training, but really getting into the mindset, the conversations of where you want to go.
And he tackles that common worry military folks adjusting to corporate culture, like the first name basis thing.
Right, which can feel weird after years of formal ranks.
So his solution, this internship of sorts.
At that startup ad agency, Magic Box Media.
For 11 months, working for free.
I know. That's a huge commitment, working for free for almost a year.
Bold move, but clearly one he felt was necessary.
It seems like he recognized that potential cultural gap and just decided to dive headfirst into bridging it and choosing a startup ad agency.
Yeah, probably about as different from the Army as you can get.
Likely very informal, dynamic, a deliberate choice, I bet.
He describes it vividly, the profanity, casual clothes, young colleagues.
A culture shock, probably.
Must have been. But he says it was immense value. One of the best 11 months of his life, he calls it.
Wow. Better than just reading about corporate culture.
Oh, for sure. It was his real-world intro. Sounds like it demystified a lot.
Absolutely gave him that cultural fluency, that comfort level that you just can't get from a book. Understanding the nuances, how people interact.
Collaboration in a flatter structure, the pace, all of it.
Yeah, incredible foresight to do that.
Okay, so after all this, the planning, the MBA, the certs, the immersion, the free internship, what was the result?
Well, the payoff seemed pretty good. He talks about a padded resume.
Glowing LinkedIn recommendations.
And 3 job offers within the first month of actually looking.
3 offers that quickly.
Yeah, shows the preparation work. He was a strong candidate.
And he ended up choosing Amazon. Why them?
Biggest brand, highest pay. Pretty practical reasons.
Can't argue with that. So how did he find the corporate world once he was in it?
Really positively, it seems. After 15 months, he called it the second best 11 months of his life.
Second only to that initial unlearning phase at the ad agency.
Right. He liked the reasonable working hours at a big MNC, like Amazon.
Interesting. Challenges that stereotype of corporate life being all-consuming.
Yeah. And enjoyed the international travel, the opportunities.
And he mentioned that shift in address from Sir to Sir to just Sir.
A small thing, but it really symbolizes that integration, doesn't it? Finding his place in the new culture.
Definitely. He felt he'd reinvented oneself, he said. After 2 years of hard work.
Leading to renewed happiness, enthusiasm for work, like his early Army days, apparently.
That's a powerful outcome. And he also offers to connect with others going through similar transitions.
Yeah, which is great. Shows that desire to give back, share the lessons learned, highlights that sense of community in these big changes.
And finally, you mentioned the comments on his article.
Yeah, just briefly. Overwhelmingly positive. People saying it was a must-read, eye-opening, really provided clarity for other veterans thinking about this path.
So it clearly hit the mark for its intended audience.
Absolutely. Showed his personal story really resonated and offered that practical guidance.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you, the learner, what are the big takeaways from Sarabhan Gandhi's journey?
Well, first, definitely that proactive early planning is crucial for a big career shift. Don't wait.
Right. Second.
Targeted upskilling.
Yeah.
For him, that executive MBA and the specific certifications were absolutely key. Recognized qualifications matter.
And third?
Don't underestimate the cultural side. Actively immersing yourself in the new environment well before you make the jump, like that internship.
Yeah, that was maybe the most surprising part.
And while his story is military to corporate in India, those core ideas, preparation, learning, adapting culturally, they apply pretty much anywhere to any big career change.
Oh, really universal principles.
And it makes you think about that phrase he used, reinventing oneself.
Yeah.
Prompts a question, I think. What steps, big or small, could you take now to shape your own future career? To prepare for transitions, even if they seem far off?
Thinking about both the formal learning and those maybe less formal, immersive experiences.
Exactly. How do you bridge your own potential skills or cultural gaps?
That is a really good question to ponder, a provocative thought to end on.
So if Sarabhan's experience struck a chord or sparked more questions for you about career changes,
maybe explore resources like LinkedIn, talk to people in fields that interest you, informational interviews.
research those certifications or courses. His story is just one data point, a really compelling one.
But there's a lot more out there to learn from as you figure out your own path.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for diving deep with us today.